Game of Thrones Season 8 proved a controversial ending for the hit HBO series, and some viewers are hoping George R.R. Martin's books will handle the story's conclusion better. While Game of Thrones diverges significantly from the books after Season 4, there are key elements of the show's ending that seem likely to happen in The Winds of Winter and A Dream of Spring. There's no word on when the final 2 Song of Ice and Fire books will arrive, and The Winds of Winter is already taking longer than expected to debut. Even so, these sequels will offer a definitive answer on just how much of Game of Thrones' ending is true to Martin's plan. There are quite a few things I could see lining up in both versions of the story. Showrunners David Benioff and D.B. Weiss confirmed that Martin shared his ending plans with them during a 2017 Time interview. They noted that they would keep some parts of the author's vision and scrap others. A couple of developments have been confirmed for both takes on the story, but there are several more I'm confident will happen in Martin's books. 6. Lyanna Stark and Rhaegar Targaryen are revealed as Jon Snow's parents. Game of Thrones basically confirmed this long-running Asoyaf theory. Game of Thrones confirms the long-running theory that Lyanna Stark and Rhaegar Targaryen are Jon Snow's parents, but this twist hasn't happened yet in the books. That said, Jon's parentage reveal was part of Martin's original Game of Thrones plan. Although the author has changed a lot since sending an outline to his publisher in 1993, this is one detail that appears to have stuck. After all, there are numerous hints at this outcome throughout Asoyaf. These include Ned's references to the promise he made his sister and the discussions about the tourney at Harrenhal. During a Q&A in 2013, David Benioff and D.B. Weiss also admitted that Martin asked them one question before allowing them to adapt his work: who Jon Snow's mother is, via Collider. Considering they got the job, it's obvious they answered this correctly. It'd be strange if they turned around and changed Jon's parentage in the show, so we can assume that Lyanna and Rhaegar are confirmed to be Jon's parents in The Winds of Winter. 5. Daenerys Targaryen burning King's Landing. The Winds of Winter can handle this better than the show. Daenerys Targaryen's Mad Queen arc is among the most controversial developments of Game of Thrones Season 8. And to be fair, the whole thing unfolds quickly. However, as many viewers have pointed out, there were hints that Daenerys' story would go in this direction throughout the show. The same foreshadowing exists in Martin's books, so it won't be surprising if she burns King's Landing in A Dream of Spring. Daenerys still needs to get to Westeros, meet Jon Snow, and face the threat to the north in The Winds of Winter, but the final book will likely repeat her tragic ending. Daenerys shows that she's capable of great good and great cruelty in Game of Thrones and Asoyaf, and her embracing the latter in the source material is a real possibility. The books include the Mad King backstory and the adage about the gods flipping a coin whenever a Targaryen is born. In that sense, they've laid the groundwork for Daenerys' dark turn. However, Martin may not lean into the madness angle quite as much in the books. And if he does, it's likely to receive far more attention than it does in Season 8. 4. Jaime Lannister's character regression. The Winds of Winter will probably prove Game of Thrones right. Jaime Lannister is one of the most complex characters in both A Song of Ice and Fire and Game of Thrones, and he embarks on a journey towards redemption in both iterations of the story. Because the show passes the books, it takes Jaime's redemption narrative further. But ultimately, his character seems to be headed in the same direction, and The Winds of Winter will probably prove Game of Thrones right about Jaime's regression as well. Just as Jaime returns to Cersei after redeeming himself in the show, he'll likely do so in the next 2 books. Of course, Jaime's storyline in The Winds of Winter may not look identical to his show narrative, as the HBO series takes liberties after Season 4. But Jaime's eventual regression is a realistic turn for a flawed character, especially one engaged in such a toxic relationship with his twin. It's exactly the kind of twist a gritty fantasy story like A Song of Ice and Fire would deliver. It wouldn't be surprising if it came from Martin first, or if he decided to do something similar. 3. Bran Stark becoming King of the Seven Kingdoms. Game of Thrones' most controversial twist will still happen. Bran Stark becoming king is arguably the most divisive Game of Thrones twist alongside Dany's Mad Queen arc, but it appears it will happen in the Song of Ice and Fire books. Bran actor Isaac Hempstead Wright confirmed that Martin was responsible for this turn during HBO's making Game of Thrones. He revealed both King Bran and Hoddas Hold the Door twist were ideas communicated to the showrunners rather than things they came up with themselves.